Good morning, everyone. I'm Nick Olmstead, and today we're going to be discussing nonverbal communication. To drive our point home, we are going to be presenting without using a single word. To make our presentation effective, we ask that everyone remain completely silent. Whoa, Doug, just kidding. Though that would have been impressive, our goal is to share with you various nonverbal communication techniques and different situations in which to use them. So Sandra, what is nonverbal communication and why is it important?
Thanks, Nick. So what is nonverbal communication? Nonverbal communication is what you say without using a single word. This includes obvious messages such as facial expressions, and it also includes some not so obvious messages such as posture or the way you dress. Experts estimate that over 55% of our communication is nonverbal. Picture this. You work with Randy here and you're his boss. He walks into a meeting with you one day and man, he looks pissed. He comes, throws his bag on the ground, slams his books on the table, settles down in his chair, turns around and glares at you. So at this point of time, you look at Randy and you say, "Hey Randy, everything okay?" And he looks back at you and he says, "I'm fine." Are you going to believe him? I don't think so. Research shows that when a person sends out mixed signals, where their verbal and nonverbal signals don't match, people overwhelmingly believe the nonverbal signals over the verbal ones. If you want to be a good communicator, it's important that your verbal signals and your nonverbal signals agree with each other. When they don't, you leave room for mistrust and confusion. When they match, you build support. To be a good communicator, it's important to pay close attention to the body language and nonverbal signals of other people and also to that of your own. So now Doug, Randy, and Amir are going to talk to you about some specific types of nonverbal signals and how you can use them to become a better communicator. Doug, over to you.
Thanks, Sandra. The first nonverbal communication type we'd like to talk about are facial expressions. Now, the reason why facial expressions are so important is because typically it's the first place that people look when you're trying to communicate a message with them. Now, I gained my facial expression communication skills from my 5-year-old daughter. Now, there are two ways to ask her not to do something. One is very effective and the other is not so effective, but I'll let you be the judge. Number one, Melolini, will you please stop doing that? And number two, Melolini. Now, if you've been a parent or we know as a kid, number two is more effective. But as a parent, I scratch my head and think, why didn't she listen the first time I asked her to do it when I asked so nicely? And it's because I was sending mixed signals. Here I am asking her to do something I'm very serious about, but I'm smiling at her. That is equivalent to you as a manager walking in with one of your employees into a room and saying, "You're fired." You would never do that, but yet we do it every single day in our professional lives and also in our personal lives. And so I'd like to leave you with 2 tips to help you master your facial expressions in your communications. Number 1, this is very easy and very simple, but yet very effective. This is practicing in front of the mirror. The next time you have to deliver a speech or give constructive feedback or have a hard, tough conversation with one of your employees, do it first in front of the mirror. Practice, and if at any time you feel just a little uncomfortable staring at yourself, just imagine what your employee thinks on the other end. Now, number 2 is something I like to call the swish. Can everyone raise your right hand? Raise your right hand. On the count of 3, we're going to do what I call the swish. You're going to swish your face and smile. Okay, on the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3, swish and smile. Oh my gosh, you guys are a beautiful looking group. I think it just got brighter in here. That is a simple way, again, to shock your body, to remind yourself that what you're saying and your facial expressions are giving different messages and to try to make them match. Now Randy is going to talk about hand gestures and touch and how to use that effectively in communicating a message.
Thanks, Doug. So the first thing I'd like to talk about as a form of nonverbal communication is touch. Touch is a very subtle form of nonverbal communication that can be used in a variety of ways to convey a variety of different meanings. So let me start off with an example. How are you doing?
Great. Ronnie Garcia.
Nice to meet you, Rick. What was your reaction during that handshake?
It was a pretty nice handshake.
Oh, listen, I
I
felt
didn't really make eye contact.
during the handshake, I actually used my finger a little bit like this. Now, generally, most people will find that a little bit creepy. Know your audience, I guess. But something as small as a little movement of your hand during a handshake can take you from 0 to 100 very, very quickly. So I went from pretty good-looking businessman to Creeper McCreeperson, just like that. Now, another example that I'd like to go up. Amir, how are you doing today?
I'm all right.
When I put my hand here on his shoulder, I'm displaying a form of intimacy as well as empathy. We're on his level, and I'm communicating to him that I understand him. As opposed to if I put my hand on the top of his shoulder here, this is a much more dominant form of touch. And I'm looking down at him, and it can be conveyed in much more different meaning. So it's important to be aware of those subtleties when you're using touch in your nonverbal communication, because it can be a very fine line between what is acceptable and what is not, and what you intend to say. Now, I'd like to talk about hand gestures. Hand gestures can be used in a variety of ways as well, and two specifically that I'm going to talk about. The first one being the emblem. An emblem is something that is basically a literal translation of the words that are coming out of your mouth. For example, when I hold up the number 1 and I say, I'm on point 1, or the number 2, and I'm on point 2. Those are emblems, and they use to reinforce and anchor the audience to what you're saying to help them follow along much, much easier. And the second one is called an illustrator. An illustrator is used to create imagery in your audience's mind. For example, when I say, man, that guy has some big feet, and I hold my arms out wide, I am reinforcing what I'm saying, creating that image in my audience's head. And when you do that, creating imagery creates that lasting effect and that memory as they go forth from your presentation, and hopefully to continue to remember it further down the road. Now, Amir is going to be talking about distance as well as posture.
Folks, every time you walk into a room, people begin making judgments, even before you've said a word. That can be scary. But I'd like to tell you how you can use your posture and how you use the space around you to set a strong platform for your message. When you come into a room, I'd like you to think about what your intent is, why you're talking to your audience. Do you want to address the whole audience? Have every eye on you and make sure that they're all paying attention to every word you're saying? Or perhaps you'd like to lead a meeting at the head of a table. Or maybe you'd like to sit in a circle, engage a discussion and foster communication and sharing of ideas. Another thing I'd like you to think about is how far away you are from someone and the space around you. So I'd like to demonstrate that with Randy. So suppose me and Randy have some sort of business deal going on, but I'm standing right here. He might find that a little uncomfortable. But I won't be able to engage with him from all the way back here. My advice is start at a healthy middle distance and mirror each other as you build rapport. Another important thing is your posture. It's not just a great tool to convey confidence and enthusiasm, but it's a great tool to modulate your own internal feelings. We have these things called power poses. Common ones are things like the wonder or the champion. And what they are great tools, even done just 2 minutes before any stressful evaluation, to boost your confidence, to improve your body's reaction to stress, and to make you a little bit more of a risk taker, which is what you might need to succeed. I'd like to just demonstrate quickly how to improve your posture in any situation where you've had a long day and you might be tired. So Doug, I'd like to go through a quick exercise with you. So to start with, just put your hand at the back of your head and pull gently to guide your head back up. Now your shoulders. I'd like you to raise your shoulders, pull them back, and slot them down. And now lastly, take a deep breath in, a little more, and gently release. Doesn't he look great? I'd hire him on the spot. Thank you. I'd like to hand it back to Nick to close.
Thanks, guys. So throughout our presentation, we've hoped you've learned the various techniques of nonverbal communication in different situations and how to use them. Remember, 55% of communication is nonverbal. So next time you give an interview or a big speech, Remember to not only think about your word choice and your content, but also your nonverbal communication as well. Thank you.